Hello everyone, my name is Diksha and I welcome you all to today's webinar on transitioning to a BIM-enabled architecture practice. Now, before we proceed any further, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to our speakers of today. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Sunil Joshi with us. He is the founder and CEO of Digitra. He is very passionate about digital technologies and how they can bring about a paradigm shift in the way we deliver projects. By training, he is a civil engineer with post graduation in business management and an RIGS certified BIM professional. After 15 years of corporate career, catering to the markets across US, Europe, APAC, India, and Middle East, he founded Digitra with a vision to help construction industry in its digital transformation process. He's also a visiting professor and a member of Board of Studies at MIT College of Management. Mr. Joshi has been working closely with large construction houses in India as their strategic BIM advisor, and he has been instrumental in re-engineering the business processes to adopt technology. Now let's move on to our second speaker for today. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Ashitosh Pratik. He's an architect and a project manager by education and responsible for business operations of Digitra in the northern region of America and European region. Based out of Toronto, Canada, he is also a lead green associate and he has a deep interest in the system thinking approach of AECO industry. This is how he has also been involved with integrated project delivery processes, focusing on BIM workflows, sustainable design, and effective project management. Now, I would like to take this session further to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, can you take over?
Good afternoon and good evening to all of you present out here. So before we move on to the key topics to be covered today, I would like to briefly introduce our firm, Digitra Consultancy Private Limited, to all of you. As some of you would be familiar with, we are one of the leading technology consulting and system integration companies and have been one of the proud winners of the National Startup Award 2020 in the construction monitoring and development sector for one of our innovative solutions. We are also an ISO certified company and have been privileged to work with top blue chip clients across the globe. While we handle the entire data lifecycle of a project, starting from preliminary capital delivery stages all the way to asset management, we adopt a vendor neutral approach. And we work with various BIM solutions and handle multiple OEMs with a great team of developers, engineers, and architects. And we work on a collaborative environment with dedicated project managers. Moving on to no BIM. So now with all the need for the BIM in the industry, as we see ahead in the session, Digitra has launched the skill development initiative called No BIM with the objective of addressing the gap between the skills available and the awareness and knowledge on practical applications towards global best practices. No BIM has been conceived with an objective to help the industry and individuals towards adopting and implementing this change, not only efficiently, but also in a very cost-effective manner. Digitra has teamed up with the best in the business for the program, the US-based CAD Learning 4D Technologies, which has the largest independent library of Autodesk learning material in the world and has been designed for your easy and unlimited access. In the NoBIM portal, you'll get to leverage the premium content on more than 50 design and engineering software. So it's really good. And you also get to attend more than 25 workshops with BIM experts to bring out more relevance in the learning process. So to sum it up, NoBIM is a long-term skill upgradation program based on gradual dispersion of several digital knowledge areas and using them on a practical basis. In the chat box of the webinar, we'll just send you an URL to the portal and you could explore the website later on and send a query. And we'll be happy to provide you with a 15-minute free demo about the program. With this, we move on to the topics for the day, and I would request Mr. Sunil Joshi, Director and Senior Consultant, to talk more about technology and BIM-enabled architecture and design processes. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashutosh, and good morning, everyone. Rather good afternoon. So I'm glad that you've joined us for this, knowledge sharing session where we'd like to kind of experience and share what we have been doing with some of our customers, helping them in adopting BIM, and how we've helped them in transforming the architecture practice. So just moving on to we'll make it a little interactive as well. So if there's any questions that you have, feel free to drop in in the question box, and somebody from our team or myself will try to attend to it. So understanding why is very important, and we have a lot of mandate going on, the global mandates that we see on BIM right now. So and also we see, like in places like Canada right now, there are a lot of new initiatives coming in from CanBIM, and the UK government, which actually brought about the mandate about 6 years back, has now transformed into evolution of one of the global standard, ISO 19650. So we must understand why there is a pressing need for for digitalization, and we see a lot of improvement and a lot of push to pick up and adopt a lot of new technologies in that area. And one of the key reason is productivity. If you really see the estimates, this is one of the estimates on the slides given by BCG, where it is anticipated that we can actually achieve like double-digit savings. Look at the competitive world today, where we are struggling for every single percentage in terms of margins. Increasing the sales price is very difficult. So every single money that you save is what goes to your profit, and that's where now a lot of owner operators, developers, they have realized this, and that's coming out in the form of mandates. Government has realized the benefits of realization, and that's where the mandate structure has been adopted in a lot of countries, and we see that increasing. So with that, I think architecture is one of the most important stakeholder. You guys are the one who probably initiate the process of design, and then the entire construction process, the process of creating that intangible design, intangible delivery actually comes from the architect. And that's where we feel that understanding how digitalization and how BIM will impact the architecture practice and how we should adopt it, that's very important. So today I'm just going to keep it simple, pick up some general examples, make it more relevant, not trying to fly too high, but at the same time, pick up some grassroots level examples and talk about, some way in which we help, as well as, some way in which most architecture practice are looking out. So the first thing that we must understand is, as we think about transforming from something which we have been doing very successfully for last 20 years, maybe 25 years, is actually a change. And BIM and digitalization in its real sense is not similar to the way we kind of upgraded, from maybe a physical environment to AutoCAD or the digital environment. Now we are actually talking about more data-driven design, and it's a more complex change. So if it was just digitization, the impact was low. The digitalization is actually making it more complex, more comprehensive, and that's where a lot of people who are involved in the process must understand that impact and see how they can embrace it. Technology that is going to enhance the architecture design workflow. I mean, there's a lot of list of technology, but I just picked up the ones which we see in and out, in most of our transactions, is the data-driven design. We are beyond 3D. We are beyond I think we've been doing modelings for last 10 years maybe. We have been using different CAD softwares, BIM softwares to create the documentation models, but now we are moving forward to really look at that, creating simulative dashboards. How do we create more more simulative environment using the intelligent BIM content to take the decision making one step ahead, and to refine and to enhance the quality of decision. The second big area is the way we have been capturing the traditional data, the site data, the way we have the as-built data. Now, from making an as-built drawing, we are actually getting into capturing an as-built situation. So the word capture is very important here, and we see a global boost in terms of the way the scanning technologies is picking up, the drone technology is picking up, and this is not going to spare any practice. Now, the way previously we used to start on like base drawings, we have seen like major trends coming in, where we are starting up with the as-built site environment and the scan data as our first and foremost based environment to kind of start up with and pick up the design process up. The next thing is real-time process. So we've been doing rendering using different tools. We use like different, so most of the time it was a disconnected process. You give the design, you give the model, and somebody would render it. But now next generation is all about real-time rendering. And then there are wonderful players who have come up where we see a good trend in real-time rendering. It means that you're not just rendering it as a part of one disconnected process, but rendering has become a part of your integral design process itself. The fourth very important pillar, or probably the way the technology is going to impact, is the data management, and which is going to create more organized data. Like if you generally see the global construction industry, like more than 90% of our data is unstructured and unorganized, and that's one of our biggest problems. Now with more infusions, with the help of cloud technology, it's becoming easy to get onto a more sophisticated data environment, start doing those document management, start getting those collaboration, making those collaboration effective, where we have like real-time people producing and sharing the data. And this is going to generate a lot of data, which is going to be the asset. And that's where we will be able to build up the future decision-making engine. Fourth most, if you really look at the way we have been constructing and assembling building, typically the way we have, look at most of our construction material, there has been, it's not, there has not been a phenomenal change in the way. We have been using steel, timber, composites. I think that's going to change moving forward with the rapid manufacturing technology, 3D printing, and the more of offsite construction that we are seeing. So that's also going to impact in the way we build up our projects, the way we assemble our assets, the way we produce our drawings. Now that's going to change, and that's where the digitalization, the ability to kind of pre-configure the entire project before you go and construct is going to give you a very upper hand, and that's what probably client will also start asking, and we see a good trend coming in there. It's very important. Most of the time people come up and, there's a basic question, when you adopt BIM, when you get into adopting, processes that will make your entire architectural practice digitalized, and you'll be in a more efficient workflow, how that efficiency will kick in, how savings will come to the practice. And this is one area where, I've just identified these 4 areas. Number one being, this is all about creating reusable data, creating reusable digital data. The more reusable digital data we will create, the faster we will be in our next projects. We will be more, we'll be able to use more automated parametric engines to kind of create the data and the design much faster as compared to what we do today. And that is the first part in terms of creating reusable digital data. The second part is elimination of a lot of human dependent processes. If a drawing is given to an estimator, he estimates based on those drawings, that's going to get eliminated. If somebody is creating an as-built drawing, that's going to get eliminated, because captures are going to be directly converted into model. And this technology is right now premature, but over a certain period of time, it will get refined, where we will get lot refined data to convert and use it directly as a more intelligent environment. The third and the most important thing is transparent organization. And next slide is interesting, because this is one of the most important advantage as well as difficulty as well. So transparent organization means if one party is sharing a data with other party, that's visible to the entire project ecosystem or entire team within your organization, just to make sure that we have the single source of truth in the organization. Now, implementing that is one of the biggest, sometimes it yields more result than most of the advanced technological investment one have done just by setting up a transparent environment. And the last part is, once we have the organized data, it's where you use that data for better decision making. You use that data. Now that's where also the business models for some of the architects, it's changing. Now some of the architects have started offering space management to their client, using their existing asset data, using their existing facilities data. What that does is that gives them the ability to really, how does a new order comes in, how does a requirement for a new building comes in? It's when the client realizes that his business is growing, he's running out of space, or he's running out of his existing facility, and he needs and more facility, he needs additional spaces to kind of utilize that. Now before the client comes and tell you, if you are managing the entire space management dashboard for your client, you become now a preventive consultant. You can go and say, hey, I'm seeing you kind of yeah, running at 90% efficiency, and some people running out of spaces, maybe, I see that quite full. Are you planning for a new expansion or something like that? Or maybe we can optimize the space. Now that's where architects are getting into, operational aspects, they're getting into deeper aspects of the business and aligning with the vision of the client. And, so this is actually enabled by the technology. So this is how, some of the business models will change in architecture. Energy optimization. Now, most of the architects now, look at in terms of, okay, fine, how is your building performing? Let's look at optimizing that energy and we will maintain it. Okay, so these are some of the additional things where you start not only looking at the capital expenses of client, but look at how the operational expenses can be tapped leveraging this technology. This was interesting as I was talking about transparent organization. If you see now, this was a very beautiful survey which was conducted by Canadian architects, and we see like 63% of the respondents says that one of the biggest barrier to to BIM adoption is is resistance to change. And I started my slide saying that BIM is a complex change. So it's about accepting it. It's about accepting the kind of changes it will bring in. It's about accepting that how, how the profiles of the people will change, how automation will, bring in changes in the job description of people. And we must also have empathy, because digital disruptions are not going to just be upgrading to a new technology like we did in the past and using that, or upgrading an iPhone and looking at it is going to have a severe industry impact, because it's going to bring a disparity in the kind of skills that we need and the kind of skills that we have. And having a balance and upskilling the people, that's one of the important, I would say, one of the winning proposition of a good change management program. It's about how quickly, because when you look at any kind of a digitalization program, people, processes, and technology, these are the three things, and people comes as one of the most important thing. How do we really embrace our existing people and migrate them from their current base to a new skill base? So just to think over, whenever we are talking about digitalization, trying to bring in saving, we are trying to bring in some kind of an automation in place, whether it is automation in drafting, automation in capturing the data, automation in terms of coordination, as automation in terms of creating schedules, automation in terms of reports, and the construction management. It's in all these places, essentially we are talking about optimization and automation. Now what that means is we are also trying to increase the efficiency in those areas, but when I look at the people aspect of it, we are talking about reduction of man hours. So that's one of the objectives, because if you reduce the man hours through automation, that's where you'll get a lot of savings and you'll get a lot of productivity gains. But at the same time, the bigger question that comes up in this practice is, if you are an architecture practice, say you have like 20 people team, out of which 5 people go and say any one of the BIM softwares like ArchiCAD or Revit or any of these tools, and then you have rest of the people who are working on traditional methods, CAD based delivery methods, and you want to migrate them. Now you need to kind of set up a plan where you will be able to transition all of them effectively. It's not a quick transition where you just kind of apply something over next few months and you are able to get done and all of your people are working fine. No, we have people who are working on BIM tools and technologies for 10 years and we're still learning. So this is a slow process. It takes at least 12 to 18 months for any good organization to kind of become completely BIM enabled. Now the beautiful part is in most of the American and the Canadian part, when we were discussing, almost 90% of them have started the process. Some have matured, but a lot of them might be in the in-between process of struggling. So we see this transition, and that was also one of the topic. We say, how can we help, or how we can create a discussion around that particular topic, and maybe share what we know and maybe share our insights on that. So I'm just going to show you some sample illustrations, with just an example in terms of how it impacts the process, how it impacts the traditional way of working, and how it also, helps you in terms of, giving a little bit of a better gain on, the time, as well as optimizing your man hours. At the same time, before I end up this session, I'll have my colleague Diksha show you the live portal for one of our BIM systems, how we really help our client and how we manage the transition process for using different BIM authoring tools. This is the laser scanning example I was giving about. I've just picked up example of Leica. I mean, they matured over a period of time, and today we have scanners where if I just pick up the scanner and go to the site, my productivity is, the time that I need to really scan the site is almost like 10 to 20% of what I used to kind of get in the past. So imagine, like, with reference to traditional process, I'm talking about a gain of at least 80% productivity in this process. Look at the amount of time it will save when we are running on critical projects. Look at the amount of turnaround time. And now scanning is becoming a very integral part of day-to-day coordination. You have done the as-built work, scan it and get it back. That is where it is becoming, where we are creating more of an evidence-based organization for our physical infrastructure. This is another beautiful example where we are talking about real-time rendering. It is not about just creating 3D models, or it is not about creating beautiful renders, but the real BIM is all about making beautiful workflow integrated. Now, this is one example. If you scan this QR code, you'll be able to see the the 3D of this live on your 360, on your mobile. You can use it for a simple panoramic VR, and you want, like, we can get into complex VR situation as well. But what happening is low hanging fruits are very important here. These are some of those low hanging items which can be used, embraced in your day-to-day practices to give a better feel or better visualization to your clients as well as the people who are working at site. Now, as we are doing the visualization for maybe one of the rooms here, we can do the same thing for maybe pump room, for critical areas, and demonstrate our design in a much better way. Now, that creates a lot of efficiency enhancement. That gives a lot of efficiency enhancement when we are looking at the number of RFIs we get back. Most of the time, these RFIs are a byproduct of right kind of information not available or missing information. When you really augment, or when you really supplement your drawings with these kind of additional inputs, because it's not possible that everybody at site would be able to use the model. Everybody at your client environment can use a complex 3D model. Now, these kind of things really make it very simple for you to communicate and get the comments out. Now, that's where you start getting more of the efficiency gain. Another is examples of clash detection and coordination. I won't touch more into it, but this is again one of the beautiful aspects of getting into more of an informed design decision. Your designs are more coordinated. But I'll give you another example. If the number of clashes are more, that's a very bad BIM process. So a good BIM process is all about creating minimum number of clashes. And how do we do that? I'll show you with an example, maybe in one of my future slides. So hang on. Yeah, so I'll just touch upon that example, in one of my subsequent slides. I was talking about data-driven decision-making culture. The more we start adopting, like, ISO 19650 is in place, and common data environment is getting more prominence. People have started understanding. It's actually the technical word that we use generally for document management. Which we used to use in the traditional. As one of the traditional methods or one of the traditional terminologies. Now, in the new scheme, we are actually talking about a common data environment, which is talking about intra as well as inter-organizational collaboration, sharing and collaboration on data management, and everything becomes a part of that. So this is how probably the data-driven decision making is also going to make it pretty well. Another example where comparisons, the revision management, the change management. A lot of people, spend a lot of time. There are beautiful tools available which can help you in terms of doing automated comparisons of drawings, automated comparisons of models, and help you, do the change management process, in a much faster way. This I already spoke about. This is another example where, we use the model along with the data to really, create a simulative dashboard. Sorry about that music. This one is again interesting. If you really look at this, I was talking about optimizing the number of clashes, reducing the number of clashes. Now, this is one of the ways how we can reduce. We use this Dynamo script here. Like automation is another thing. When you're talking about migrating your practice to, a more automated and BIM enabled practice, it is not just about, being able to model or use that for creating drawings. It is about going and exploiting the possibility of automation, making your design more parametric, making it more, reproducible. So reusable digital asset I was talking about. So this is a script that we develop. If you see this floor plan, this is a schematic diagram which shows you the variations in the depth of those objects, like the beam depth, the slab depth, and you can identify that with the color. Now, we created this for the MEP consultant. And this initiative was done for an architect, because ultimately he was responsible for, the architect was responsible for the overall coordination. When we gave these kind of a schematic diagram to an MEP guy, he actually was able to visualize, the flows, the depth in 2D. And when he was actually drawing his routing for the ducts, for the pipes, and for the cable trays, he was able to visualize that, okay, fine, here I will hit clash, here I can actually, I need to redesign, maybe I need to change my levels. Before even modeling, we are now getting into an environment where it is a preventive way. We get a much informed design. Okay, so this is one of the ways of reducing clashes. This is more on the, moving forward. As of now, we still have a global issue of connectivity in the way the architects design and the way the construction team uses the model and the way the operation uses the model. And there is a disconnected environment most of the time when we work, and we still have a global challenge of using the model from one ecosystem effectively for the other ecosystem. And that's where now the global mandate is going to make it very effective, and hopefully is going to bring in a better connectivity between different processes, design, construction, and operation. And that's where, your ability to visualize how you're going to construct, your ability to see how your program is going to come up is going to be a big way in which, you can take better decisions using any 4D or 5D models. This is another beautiful example and very important for architects. Most of the time, if we have been still stuck with the traditional environment, trying to do, area calculations based on CAD and things like that, what we do on CAD is, what you get as an area and what you write here, most of the time is a manual entry point. And I was talking about eliminating that human intervention. So when we use any good or any of these kind of BIM-enabled authoring tools, we are able to get these areas in an automated way. That's a byproduct of the space that you design. And this is one example of elimination of the, the manual intervention and improve the way we design our projects. This is another example in which we talk about, standardization of the, the objects and the families, and, how you can create a standard list of all the components that you're using, create a container of that, and use it for consumption with the client. Okay, now one more topic was there, which I just want to do. The more we start using this digital content, the more we start using, like I'll just jump onto the slide maybe. Yeah, this is again very important. As I was talking about an integrated workflow where right from the owner till you can say, the transporters, the contractors, the engineers, funding agencies, we are talking about integrating the entire workflow, being able to use the data from the one ecosystem without losing or without getting into any kind of disconnectivity into the another process. And blockchain is one of such technology. We all talk about bitcoins, but I think the technology behind is going to bring in a lot of revolution in smart contracts. And as architects, we, that would be one of the important part, because we are creating a digital infrastructure that ultimately gets converted into a physical infrastructure. So there will be changes in the kind of liabilities that we get into. Most of the time people say, okay, hey, can you give me a model? Now, what kind of liability do you have if you issue a model? I still see sometimes we use like, small snippers or small kind of notes saying that, the models are only for information purpose. For any contractual consumptions or for any execution decisions, please refer the drawings and the signed contract information as a part of your obligation. Now, at some point of time, we will not be, will not be able to wash out our hands by saying that you can't use the model. We will have to give, we'll have to give a warranty in terms of the way we are actually giving out the digital information as well, and how that particular aspect is going to create the complications in your legal structures. Also, if you look at the typical traditional payment terms, the schematic, the DD, the CD stages that we have, and we had all these payment terms which we have been following for donkey's years now. But if you really look at the way you have been evolving your models, I think if you're 100%, if you're done with your 100% DD set, or your design is done 100% DD, there is rarely any additional information you're just producing the export, or you're producing the documentation after that. Now, if you treat it as a traditional DD package that you used to provide in the CAD era, I think there's a big difference in the payment terms and the percentage efforts that has to complement with each other. And we also now are getting into more complicated workflow where most of the time the architects start the process, they can do the models, they can work on the models, but they have difficulty that their engineering partners are not able to do that. Now, can you really be in 3D and you have your supply chain partners who are still working on 2D and giving you CAD deliverables? Can you coordinate with them? Can you use and consume them? How do you set up the workflow there? Now, these are some of the workflow challenges that you must address before you start the process. So I think with this, I would like to just bring my discussion to the end, and have my colleague Diksha show you one of our platform, NoBIM, and we'll show you that live in terms of how we are using it, and how we are helping our client to really learn some of the platforms. Like we talk about OpenBIM, and we have different authoring tools. At the same time, we realize that 70 to 80% of the people that we've interacted in the the region have invested in Autodesk ecosystem, and we feel that if you have AEC collection, or if you have invested in Autodesk AEC collection, you have tools like Revit, Formit, Navisworks, BIM 360, Dynamo as a part of the package, which is already an investment within your organization. Now, that's where we picked up this initiative. We said that, okay, fine, let's maximize what we have right now. Let's try to get going with whatever investments we have, and create a structure where you will be able to leverage and upgrade your staff, upskill your staff in using those tools and Autodesk solutions. So Diksha, are you able to give us a little glimpse on on NoBIM and show us that?
Yes, sure.
Do you want me to enable you as a presenter? Okay, wonderful. I think here you go. You should be able to share now. Lovely.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's directly show, I think, okay, this is a website. I think, you can just make a note of this, and Ashutosh might have also dropped in a, the link, and you can go through this website to really look at the, the content and the kind of stuff we have. At this point of time, if we can directly show the portal, that will be great, Diksha. Yeah, so if you really look at this, look at the libraries that we have here. We have more than 35,000 lessons here, around Revit, Navisworks, almost most of the Autodesk products that we have, and we keep upgrading ourselves, upgrading the content quite frequently. And these are built by, a partner, CAD Learning. We have Autodesk certified publishing partners, and we have the best authors who are available, who understand and who comes from a very mature understanding of the product. If you go deep inside the product, like if I pick up Revit, if you see the versions that we cover here, we cover almost all of the versions since probably 2016 and all. Now you can pick up, and this is where every time the new version comes up, you don't have to worry about what changes has happened, and that's picked up here in the product. If you go inside, look at the lessons now, look at the depth of the lessons. We have actually, made bite-sized lessons. which you can see and which you can, learn at any given point of time, with a lot of resources to practice. Now, what this does is this gives you the ability to give the independence to your staff and to your people to learn it at their own convenience, and come back with queries and come back with questions to make the, the knowledge, learning process much better. Maybe, you can just jump onto one of the content and show it, Diksha. Yeah, so if you really see, this is how the content looks like, with very high quality audio. You can change the speeds. The transcripts are available below if you are not able to pick up something effectively. And now all this rich content is available to you at your discretion. Now, this is super effective as compared to learning it in a traditional way. So here what you do is you get onto a learning mode, you start looking at things, you start looking at, the topics that you're really interested in, and then go back with questions. So we create an environment where, we create kind of a learning environment for people to look at. Plus we have like, more than 15,000 assessment questions. Every single topic that you work on, there is a set of questions that is prompted to you when you ask. Okay, you're able to see those questions, and you're able to really work around if you're not able to, answer some of those questions effectively. Can we look at one of the assessment, Diksha, if it's possible? Yeah. So this is how the assessment question starts coming in. If you see this, there are different questions. Sometimes questions are built around the product, questions are built around the processes, questions are built around the example files that is there. You see different kind of examples coming in. You can create your own custom products also. You can look at, these kind of examples, which is coming from toolbars and all. So there is a high degree of ability of, so we partner as like, a learning partner. We create an organizational thing. And when you look at the individual dashboard also, which, any of your staff or any of the architects would be able to look at, he can really start preparing for, say, Autodesk architecture certification. Now, we don't really, sell certification, because the concept that we are wholesaling here is about learning. We want to give it your own practice, your own comfort to learn at your own pace. But at the same time, you should be able to, make up your own program and prepare yourself for certification if required. The entire platform will prepare you. The second thing is, if I go back, look at the organizational dashboard. If you really look at this, I'm able to now look at, the skill gaps in the organization, look at different kind of people who are performing well, who are not learning. So if I have a small practice also, I'm able to now create a much better picture of how my organization's BIM enablement is evolving. Okay, sometimes if there is a critical project that comes up where I need 5 people to know how to model a facade, I can create that as a playlist and assign that to 5 people. Hey, you please learn this. We will discuss this next week. Now, this makes it very effective, where you are actually using this like your, a digital companion to really, be attached with every single employee of yours, and, help them in terms of building up, the skills on these BIM platforms. So yeah, I think with this, we come to the end of our webinar. We, we really appreciate your time. If there's any questions that we have, Diksha, if you have got any questions, we'll be happy to answer. And, otherwise people can drop in their notes and, questions, and we can take it up later on.
Yes, thank you very much, Sunil and Ashutosh. I hope all of you enjoyed this amazing presentation. And we actually got few questions during the presentation. Can I just ask them right now?
Sure, we will just try to attend and maybe, wrap it up in another 5 minutes. And if we have more, that can keep coming to us over email.
Okay. So the first question was, with this financial and project execution uncertainty, do you think it's really practical and feasible to change the processes entirely? And if yes, how to do it with minimum risk involved in terms of investments in software and in skills?
I think if you really look at the percentage investments on softwares, I think as compared to our overall cost, it's not a major, it's not a deal breaker, or it's not a deal maker. So I think we should not be really worried about that. The most important thing that you really feel is the change in the processes. That takes time. If I've built up my CAD standard of last 20 years, 30 years, and I have all my typical drawings, my standard details available, my drawings are available, templates, CAD standards and all. Now, if I have to really move on to a new process, you can't do it overnight. Learning the software could be done where you can start playing with it in a very short period of time, but migrating your entire practice to a new way of working will definitely take some more time and a lot of patience. So I would say that we have to be a little delicate when it comes to looking at the processes that we want to change. The success mantra here is to kind of build the process change around the people that you have.
Wonderful. Now, the second question was, can you talk about some project briefly where this technology-based approach made some significant difference, both in terms of time to delivery and overall cost?
I think there are a lot. I think it's really difficult to pull out one project where it helped because in most of the projects where we have helped our client kind of migrate, I think they were able to deliver their design faster. I touched upon some of the examples in the past presentation also, in some of the slides that I was talking about, how some automation tools really help them in terms of eliminating a lot of clashes before the even model was ready. A lot of RFIs, like if you really look at the architecture practice, our responsibility doesn't end by just issuing the construction document. It has to be of high quality and it has to have minimum number of RFIs coming in from the client. Sometimes it also have commercial implications to our client, because bids are collected based on the drawings, and if there is a variation, if there is an RFI coming in from the contractor, it does create an indirect obligation to the design team as well. And now creating a coordinated design, being able to identify and visualize those issues before you get the construction team going on it, I think is one of the great advantage from a risk mitigation perspective. And we are seeing that that's helping almost all of our clients.
Okay. Gary wants to ask that how does your product assist the workflow working from home? COVID may be here for a long period, and employees like the home option. So it also can it also assist international collaboration?
I think that's a very good question. So if you really look at work from home, and most of us are right now working from home, the cloud has actually worked out to be a game changer. At some point of time we were keeping our office, accessing our servers, looking at our data was a big challenge, but because of the cloud technology, the people who are working on, like for example, I'll give you an example. One of the architecture firm in the East Coast, they just migrated to BIM 360 design, and another was basically we were just using like Dropbox based collaboration, but BIM 360 design just helped it so effectively that when people were working from home, everybody was working on the same model. They were collaborating on the same space. The data was available on the cloud, secured in the environment, and we actually bypassed a lot of heavy investment on servers and things like that. Now, the small ticket items, the ease of access, and then the penetration of cloud is going to be a big boom right now. Imagine if cloud technology was not there, and we had to collaborate. The lockdown and the COVID situation that we all are going through right now globally, I think would have really killed us. So we should really bless the cloud technology, and then thank probably some of the people who really picked up on that. And we have helped clients, not just BIM 360, but if you just want to set up a collaboration framework, cloud-based collaboration for framework using any other tool, we have helped them set that up also. And that is the beauty of it. So and it's not just work from home is going to continue because of COVID, but I believe that in the last 1.5 years, we've changed our habits. I mean, people are finding it difficult to get onto their trousers, and then they say that we prefer working from home and doesn't want to come back to office. Now this problem is going to continue, and the answer is in terms of building up your cloud-based digital infrastructure to give access to your employees and use that as a part of your collaboration very effectively.
Great. So this is our last question.
Yeah, I think there's one more. Gary is asking. I can just see his prompt. The Workshare was for remote workforces. Is BIM 360 better? Yes. BIM 360 is way mature. Revit Workshare is where you are still trying to collaborate on server and create a lot of complicated things. BIM 360 makes it very easy. The whole because for example, if I'm setting up a master file and then link models at my place, working from on the model from my machine, but the data is on the cloud, and anybody who is actually linking the same file can now leverage that. So BIM 360 is way superior right now in terms of its collaboration maturity.
Okay. So can I move on to my next question?
Sure.
Okay.
Diksha.
Just okay. So Viren wants to know that in one of our projects, a few consultants were working on BIM, but most of the site-based team and other few consultants, they were not involved. So they did not understand how model worked, and the process didn't go well. So what to do in such situations?
Can you just repeat the question?
Okay, so a few consultants were working on BIM, but most of the site-based team and other few consultants, they were not involved in the process. So the overall entire process did not went well. So what to do in such situations?
Yeah, I think a very sensible question. As I was talking about, the handing off, the connectivity of the design with the construction and then construction with the operation. And now ISO 19650 says that when you start the design process, start with the end in mind and connect all the workflow. Now, the bigger challenge here, what comes is in most of the practices, when we do a design model and at some point of time the drawings go out for construction, most contractors they may not be using BIM for shop drawings, and if they use, they might be creating a new model separately. The design changes still continues, and at the same time the changes continues on the construction phases as well. And this is because of that, the moderator, like somebody who is appointing both of them, has not mandated the digital connectivity between them, where the collaboration becomes difficult. So both of them are working on model but sharing non-intelligent information with each other, and if they're sharing the information that is not usable, or that is not probably that can't be consumed in the way the other person wants. So I think it's very important in such projects to keep the expectation right, to set up the workflow effectively in a way where you are not overcommitting to the BIM users on that project. So again, coming back to my same comment that people are the core. Look at the people in your project, look at the stakeholders who are there, and build up the entire digital workflow, the deliverable expectation based on people who are there. Just putting the mandate yardstick and then expecting that things will go smooth doesn't work out in the real world.
Wonderful, Sunil. Thank you. We are actually running out of time. So I regret to inform you all that this is all the time that we have today. I'm sorry if we have not been able to answer all of your queries. And I request you to please share your questions with us, and we will surely get back to each one of you. I would also like to thank Sunil and Ashutosh for this informative webinar today. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And to all the participants, thank you for attending and taking time out of your valuable schedules. And we hope you have learned and enjoyed this webinar. And we'll be conducting such many more webinars in the future. And we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.